What's up, y'all? Pastor Emil here with another Wednesday in the Word. What's Up Wednesday video. We are taking a look at Philippians. We're just finishing up chapter 1 now, looking at verses 27 through 30. Paul has been talking about how he's confident that he's going to remain. He'd rather depart and be with Christ, which is far better, but he knows that he has a purpose, that God has put him there for some things to do. He hasn't finished all of them, so God's going to get him through this really trying time. And then he says this: only let your manner of life be worthy of the gospel of Christ, so that whether I come and see you or am absent, I may hear of you, that you are standing firm in one spirit, with one mind, striving side by side for the faith of the gospel, and not frightened in anything by your opponents. This is a clear sign to them of their destruction, but of your salvation, and that from God. For it has been granted to you that for the sake of Christ you should not only believe in him, but also suffer for his sake, engaged in the same conflict that you saw I had, and now hear that I still have. We have been given some tremendous blessings in the gospel, blessings that we're called to share. And Paul is saying, he's reminding them, he has been reminding them of the incredible good news that we have in Jesus, that the Philippians have in Jesus. And then he says, let your manner of life be worthy of the gospel of Christ. That doesn't mean we're going to be perfect, but it does mean we are called to something different. We're called to a life that doesn't reflect the world's values, what the world prioritizes, but a life that reflects what God values, what the kingdom of heaven values, what is the priorities of God's kingdom. So he's reminding them, I want, even if I can't come to see you, I want to hear that this is what's going on with you. I want to hear that you are standing firm in one spirit and with one mind and striving side by side for the faith of the gospel. Remember, there are all different kinds of people that he's talking about. There are people that are talking about Jesus to try and get him into trouble. There are people that are talking about Jesus in order to just make a name for themselves. They're not really in it for Jesus. They're not really in it for the people that they're talking to or preaching to, right? And earlier he said, I don't care as long as Christ is preached. That's the number one goal. But hey, among you, this is how it should be among you. You should be doing this the right way. You should have one spirit, one mind, side by side, doing this work. And you shouldn't be afraid of all the other people that are coming after you either. You shouldn't be afraid of the people that are trying to make your life difficult, the people that are talking about Jesus in order to get you in trouble, or the people that are in it for themselves. You shouldn't be distracted by that, worried about it, frightened by, they're going to get more people into this whole thing. They're going to attract more people, more followers. They're going to follow them. They're not going to be a part of what we're doing. He said, don't worry about any of that. Don't even worry if they come after you the way they've come after me, Paul is saying, right? In fact, when you're not frightened, that's what he's kind of getting at here towards the end here. If you're not frightened, that is a sign that the salvation of God in Jesus Christ is at work in you. Because Jesus not only died for the sins of the world, he rose again from the dead. There is no fear of anything in Jesus. In fact, it's so powerful. I've been following a few accounts on Instagram of people that have sort of left the Christian faith, and now they sort of mock the Christian faith. And I've seen time and time again, they mourn this loss of freedom, of comfort, of peace that comes with knowing that Jesus is risen from the dead and there's nothing to fear, right? It's a real thing. A real thing. It's a sign of the salvation of God at work in you. That the sting of death is gone. It can't hurt you. It can't harm you anymore. And if death can't harm you, why in the world should you be worried about all these other people that may be after you, the suffering that is coming your way? If you're not frightened, it's also a sign of their destruction, Paul says. That in the end, they lose. In the end, the enemies of Christ, the enemies of Christ's body, the church, our brothers and sisters in Christ, ourselves, that is a sign. Our lack of fear, our ability to move forward, even in the midst of some really scary things, that's a sign that their end is coming. That when we see Jesus again, the enemies of the cross of Christ will lose. It will be definitive. It will be clear. Okay? And we will rejoice in the victory that we're celebrating that day. And as we suffer, sometimes we have this idea that our life should be free of suffering. And the fact of the matter is that that's the most delusional thing that we could ever think. It's the most ridiculous thing. Because when in the history of the world has anyone ever gone through life without suffering? It just doesn't happen. Jesus was perfect, and he suffered far more than any of us. In this life, we will have trouble. We will face suffering. And that's why Paul says, hey, you're going to suffer, but hang in there. In fact, in places we talk about how it's a joy to participate in the sufferings on behalf of Jesus Christ. So, brothers and sisters, no matter what you're facing, no matter how difficult things may be, no matter how many people are out to get you, no matter how many people are trying to stop you from preaching the good news of Jesus or sharing his love wherever you live, work, and play, don't be afraid. Live a life worthy of the gospel of Jesus Christ, the gospel that you carry with you. And remember and relish the future victory that we are guaranteed by the cross and the empty tomb. Just a brief announcement here for you. We've, of course, got our ongoing camps at the community center, and I want to remind you of our trunk or treat coming up on October 22nd. Make sure you set aside the time, you get a trunk decorated, come on out, have a great time. God bless you. Hope to catch up with you real soon. Bye-bye.